On this Saturday night, COVID-19 records in Canada. New Brunswick's bubble about to burst.
It makes me really sad to think we could lose our gains at the very last minute.
Ontario sets a new daily high.
What we need are federal rules.
As Canadians feel the burden of new restrictions and lockdowns, post-Brexit and Canada.
It's a win-win for two close allies and friends.
Why Ottawa was in a rush to get a trade agreement with Britain. And will the new American president help free the two Canadian men in China?
Global National with Robin Gill.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. We begin tonight with the spike in COVID-19 cases in just about every part of the country. Alberta shattered its daily record with more than 1,300 cases. Saskatchewan reported a record high of 439 new cases. Ontario also broke a new daily record of nearly 1,600 cases. So did New Brunswick. 23 new cases in that province. Another sign the Atlantic bubble may be bursting.
This is indeed a reality check. Everything we're hearing worldwide, everything we're hearing nationally from other provinces is real. We've said here time and time again that the potential is that it will come to New Brunswick. We're seeing it.
David Akin now on a nation bracing for more dark days ahead.
So here we are. It's November 21st, 2020. We have come a long way since the beginning of this pandemic.
That's New Brunswick, inside the Atlantic bubble, the part of the country that has been best beating back COVID-19. And yet, even there, the number of new daily cases hit a new record on Saturday. And so New Brunswick, like many other parts of the country, now telling its citizens it's time to step up.
We have to do this again.
Records are being set in regions across the country. Saskatchewan hit a one-day record with 439 cases, and Ontario hit a high with 1,588 new infections. Ontario Premier Doug Ford had already moved to put the millions who live and work in Toronto and in nearby Peel region into lockdown starting Monday. That prompted panic buying Saturday across the Greater Toronto area. Premiers, the Prime Minister, and public health officials everywhere are sounding the alarm that all Canadians must do more now to stop the spread.
Well, here within Nunavut, we don't recommend any unnecessary travel right now at all. So I don't know if it's dilution, but it is one of the tools we have here to keep the COVID from going to other communities.
We're asking business owners, we're asking patrons to follow the rules.
But the rules are different all over the country, and that, to some experts, is a problem.
What we need are federal rules on mask use, on closures of high-risk businesses, on keeping gatherings small, on closing off the hot spots of the country, drawing a circle around them and not letting people in or out except for urgent needs, just like the Maritimes have done.
So far, though, Ottawa's answer? It's up to the provinces and the premiers to make those decisions. David Akin, Global News, Ottawa.
It has been exactly 10 months since the first novel coronavirus case was confirmed in the U.S. As of today, there have been more than 12 million infections in the world's worst affected country. New COVID-19 case numbers are breaking records day after day. Hospitalizations are rising so rapidly that military medical professionals are being called in to help with staff shortages. And still, tens of millions of Americans are expected to travel for Thanksgiving over the next week, despite warnings to stay put. Jennifer Johnson reports from Washington.
The U.S. Department of Health reports over 1,000 hospitals spanning all 50 states are critically short on staff as the COVID-19 pandemic infects record numbers of Americans day after day.
I have never seen so much death and so much sickness in the past 2 weeks than I have in my entire 10 years in healthcare.
In North Dakota, which has one of the highest death tolls per capita, Air Force nurses are being called in to alleviate staff shortages. In Oregon, new cases, hospitalizations, and deaths are setting daily records. Other states are seeing dramatic spikes in positivity rates, too.
It's rather shocking, but about 1 in every 49 Coloradans are contagious with this.
Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles is one of hundreds of sites across the country flooded with people lining up to be tested.
Right now, we have a pandemic that is completely out of control. And the reason it's out of control is we still don't have the public health infrastructure to test, trace, and isolate. And without that, people can't know their status. They go about their lives and they infect other people.
The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is recommending people not travel this Thanksgiving holiday. But the American Automobile Association predicts close to 50 million Americans will go out of town to celebrate with loved ones.
We felt like we're being safe and he's going to get tested before he sees his grandma.
Many college students feel they had no choice but to come home.
Campus actually is closing their dorm, living in the actual dorm.
More shutdowns have been ordered. No more indoor dining at restaurants in several U.S. cities, including Philadelphia.
Business is so bad at the moment that we're not making rent.
A new study by the CDC has found government mandates that require masks dramatically slow the spread of COVID-19. Yet some states are making masks mandatory, while others still are not.
That state-by-state approach to fighting the pandemic is something President-elect Joe Biden plans to change when he takes office January 20th. Jennifer Johnson, Global News, Washington.
Under a new American administration, Canada has an opportunity to fix the fractures in our relationship with the U.S., especially when it comes to the China file. Ottawa has been caught in the middle of a war between Beijing and D.C. On the West Block this week, Mercedes Stephenson spoke with Joe Biden insider and Delaware Senator Chris Coons about shifts in foreign policy. Mercedes?
Robin, the rumors circulating in Washington suggest that a top pick to be President-elect Biden's Secretary of State is Senator Chris Coons. Senator Coons gave us some insights into what Canada can expect in terms of relations with the Biden administration. And he says that key Republicans who are backing President Trump might be changing their tune in the next week as more states certify the outcome of their elections.
And that means there is no further review or recount possible once they certify their elections. The last conceivable date would be December 14th when our College of Electors meets. But, frankly, every day that we are delaying is a day that puts at greater risk our public health and our national security.
There's a lot to watch out for come Inauguration Day, and Canadians will certainly be watching closely too, as policy shifts under the new administration will have consequences for Canada. Top of mind for Canadians, Biden's policy on China. It's been almost 2 years since Canadians Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig were arbitrarily detained in China following the arrest of Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou in Canada on a U.S. extradition warrant.
If it were up to me, I would be pressing harder on the Chinese to release these two Canadians who are held without cause, and frankly, to consult closely with Prime Minister Trudeau, someone who I view as a close and trusted ally, and who I believe will enjoy a very good relationship with President-elect Biden. But, frankly, in consultation with a partner and ally, we'd be asking, the President-elect would be asking exactly what is in Canada's best interest, as well as what's in the United States' best interest.
Senator Coons says China has become more aggressive globally. He predicts that President-elect Biden will pull international partners like Canada together to come up with a coordinated strategy on China. Questions remain on the future of Canada's trading relationship with our southern neighbors, though, under a Biden administration.
Our long and close partnership has at times had some strains due to trade. Whether it's softwood lumber or dairy or even lobsters, we at times have had some disagreements, but we should resolve them the way close and trusted friends do.
We will all certainly be watching those discussions closely over here in Canada. Robin?
Mercedes Stephenson in Ottawa. And you can watch the full interview with Senator Chris Coons on the West Block tomorrow, right here on Global. Canada has an important relationship with the UK, too. It's one of our largest trading partners. And tonight, Canada has a deal with the United Kingdom done in the nick of time. Here's our Europe Bureau Chief, Crystal Goomansigh.
The UK is our 5th largest trading partner in the world, so making sure that we continue to do that.
Even with the poor audio in the video chat, there's no missing the message. These four are celebrating the new Canada-United Kingdom Trade Continuity Agreement.
It maintains access to £20 billion worth of trade.
Trade that, because of Brexit, could have been more costly and cumbersome in 2021 when European Union trade rules no longer apply to Britain or its partners. The new agreement replicates sections of the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, also known as CETA. While the full text has not been made public, it appears Canadian businesses didn't gain anything, but nothing was lost either.
It also protects Canada's supplied managed products. So I want to be very clear that there is no new market access for cheese here in this transition agreement.
Well, this transitional trade agreement is being hailed as a success by government officials in Ottawa and here in the UK. Trade organizations are a little more hesitant. For example, the Canadian Agri-Food Trade Alliance says that this is a welcomed stopgap, but governments need to do more to help businesses. That point was reiterated by Tracy Gray, the Conservative shadow minister, in a statement saying, "We've heard from many industries who would like to see amendments, and it sounds like 3 years of negotiations haven't led to this materializing." When Brexit talks first started in 2017, Canada and the UK committed to keeping its trading relationship intact. Now the pressure is on Canadian politicians to determine if the agreement should be passed.
But we don't have the text of the treaty. We don't have the text of the enabling legislation.
Daniel Blakey doubts there's enough time for anyone to truly scrutinize the deal. If both governments approve it, leaders say it will stand for at least a year, and they've committed to creating a new, ambitious, and permanent trade deal. Crystal Goomansigh, Global News, London.
A mostly virtual G20 summit is underway in Saudi Arabia with the spotlight on a unified effort to control the COVID-19 pandemic. The annual gathering of leaders from the world's 20 biggest economies kicked off with a discussion on managing the financial recovery once the pandemic is under control. And in his opening remarks, Saudi Arabia's king called for cooperation to ensure equal and affordable access to vaccines and drugs to battle COVID-19. Coming up, a former prime minister's perspective on the vaccine. His father had to make a health decision for Canada. Our hopes are pinned on the new vaccines promising to change the course of this pandemic, but there are reasons to be cautious. In the 1950s, an American company produced and distributed a polio vaccine that made children sick. At the time, Canada's health minister was Paul Martin Sr. His son, the former prime minister, is sharing that story tonight. And as Mike Armstrong explains, it may be a reason to have confidence in COVID-19 vaccines.
He was in a foul mood.
There is a day Paul Martin has never forgotten. The former prime minister was 16 years old and found his father at home upset.
And I'd never seen him like that.
Paul Martin Sr. was the federal health minister at the time. The polio vaccine was just being rolled out, and vaccinated kids in the southern U.S. were turning up sick.
Nobody knew if it was a bad batch or if, in fact, there was a problem with the vaccine. The Americans stepped in and stopped the vaccine.
Right across the country.
Right across the country.
It would become known as the Cutter incident. A company in California, Cutter Laboratories, had in fact produced a bad batch of the new polio vaccine. Instead of immunizing children with an inactivated or killed strain of the virus, healthy kids were being injected with live polio virus. 40,000 developed a mild form of the infection, more than 150 were paralyzed permanently, and 10 died. But Paul Martin Sr., confident in Canada's supply, never buckled to the pressure to stop the program.
If he had stopped in Canada, that would have stopped the vaccine in North America. That would have tipped the balance.
Instead, the U.S. investigated, figured out what had happened, and looked north. Canada had continued vaccinating kids, and everything was going fine. The Americans restarted their program. Now, Martin says one factor in his father's decision was their family's history. Both he and his father had suffered from polio.
He didn't want another child to miss getting the vaccine. He knew what it meant to have polio.
Now, with the world again looking for a vaccine to solve a problem, Martin says he's been thinking about the Cutter incident. He says the industry learned from what went wrong.
Is there the potential that we would
cut corners or rush a vaccine out?
Certainly from what I have seen, no. But your point is well taken. I think they're going through all of the testing, they're taking their time, they're doing it right.
It was Dr. Jonas Salk out of Pittsburgh who developed the polio vaccine, but Canada was deeply involved. Toronto's Connaught Labs shipped thousands of liters of polio virus to Salk for his work. Martin says he's confident in a COVID-19 vaccine because he's seen what science can achieve. Mike Armstrong, Global News, Montreal.
And you can see more of that story tonight on The New Reality with Donna Friesen, starting at 7 p.m. Still ahead, a staggering humanitarian crisis unfolding in Ethiopia's deadly conflict.
And liftoff of Sentinel-6 Michael Freilich.
NASA launched a new satellite into Earth's orbit to analyze the planet's rising sea levels. The Sentinel-6 was developed with the European Space Agency. It will send signals to the ocean's surface, tracking elevation based on how long they take to return. The data will help climate change research and improve weather forecasts. Ethiopian forces are pushing further into Tigray, where a deadly conflict is forcing thousands of people to flee to neighboring Sudan. According to the United Nations, at least 32,000 civilians have left Tigray so far, and children under the age of 18 account for 45% of the refugees arriving in Sudan. The Ethiopian government says it has seized the second biggest city in Tigray as troops advance towards its capital. Ethiopia's Prime Minister, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, is under pressure to enter talks with the leaders of the rebellious region. But as Redmond Shannon reports, both sides are accused of stoking the tensions that are leading to a humanitarian crisis.
Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed received the Nobel Peace Prize less than a year ago.
There are those who have never seen war but glorify and romanticize it. They have not seen the fear.
Abiy was given the award for his work in ending a two-decade conflict with Eritrea that killed tens of thousands of people. These are Ethiopians today, running from a conflict between Abiy's troops and the northern Tigray region. People haven't eaten for 3 or 4 days. I don't know where my kids are, says this man, who has fled to Sudan. Tensions rose in September when Tigray held regional elections, defying a national ban on polls imposed because of COVID-19. Then earlier this month, Abiy accused the ruling TPLF in Tigray of attacking a federal military base. He sent in troops, and the effects are now being felt across Eastern Africa. The UN says tens of thousands of people have left Tigray for Sudan. Ethiopia has reportedly moved 3,000 of its peacekeeping forces from unstable Somalia into Tigray, and the TPLF has fired rockets into Eritrea, accusing it of supporting Ethiopia's offensive. For 27 years until 2018, the Tigray minority led Ethiopia's government, during which time it fought a war against the breakaway nation of Eritrea. That was until Abiy took power 2 years ago, freezing out the TPLF and striking a peace deal with Eritrea's president.
They didn't really take lightly the idea of marginalization in Ethiopia after being dominant for so long.
The Tigrayans' election defiance this year was part of a push for autonomy that they see Abiy attempting to strip away.
Many people simply now suspect that he is building a typical African political system called personal rule. Even if there is an election, I think many people simply believe that he may not be allowing free and fair elections.
It's believed hundreds have died in the Tigray conflict. It includes allegations the TPLF were behind a mass killing, something they deny. But with a total communication blackout in Tigray, little is known for sure. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
Up next, the Humboldt Broncos survivor and his message about managing mental health. Tyler Smith has been through more than most people could imagine. In 2018, he survived the tragic Humboldt Broncos bus crash that killed so many of his friends. Smith still grapples with the trauma, but he's working to move forward. As Sulingo reports, he's now helping other people his age deal with mental health.
We came to the rink every day and we knew that it was truly a great day to be a Bronco no matter what.
As one of the 13 survivors of the bus crash that killed 16 people, former Humboldt Bronco Tyler Smith knows he may never fully heal.
I'm still trying to figure out what truly works for me because it feels like the accident was yesterday.
Tyler was seriously injured in the 2018 collision. He still has nerve damage to his left hand, but the emotional trauma affects him the most. A few months after the crash, depression sunk in.
That numbness kind of triggers into a spiral down effect. It did for me at least, where you just bottle up all these emotions and you just put them on the back burner, and then obviously there's going to be a time when it comes out.
He managed to return to the Broncos to play 10 games. That's when he realized he needed to go home to Leduc to focus on his mental health.
And actually start to figure out ways to recover and figure out ways that work best for me to heal, and realize that it's not just a one-day thing, that this is going to be a lifetime thing.
Exercise, counseling, and writing in his journal have helped, but the pandemic has changed life for him and all his friends. Tyler says people in their 20s tend to focus on what's next, in school, in their careers, in their relationships. That's why isolating can be tough. His advice? Try to be grateful for what you have right now.
Whether it be a good or a bad day, you just have to embrace that day and try to live in the present and try to figure out what's going to work for you that day.
Sulingo, Global News.
And that is Global National for this Saturday. I'm Robin Gill. Tonight, your Canada is this snowy night view of Kamloops, BC. We'd love to see your part of the country, so email your photos to viewers@globalnational.com. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great night.